but I wouldn't be seeing the Montreal Expos for another 9 years. When that day came, I would see them again literally at a different time, in a different place. When did I make that video? Last August? What have I been doing during that time? All right, let's get this over with. On May 25th, 2000, I was there.
It wasn't a matter of if, but a matter of when. The year 2000 would usher in a new era of San Francisco Giants baseball. After 40 seasons at Candlestick Park, the Giants would move into a new home. Located on 3rd and King Streets at the China Basin in downtown San Francisco, the new address would be known as 24 Willie Mays Plaza, better known as Pacific Bell Park, or SBC Park, or AT&T Park, or Oracle Park. Come on, really? Unless I knew anyone who was a Giants season ticket holder in the year 2000, and I didn't, it would be nearly impossible to get a ticket to see this new yard. Many of the games in the 2000 season were sold out weeks before opening day. The team would leave a very narrow window open for all of their home games for those who wanted to buy a ticket at the window. 500 bleacher seats would be available for purchase on the day of the game. On a day off work, I would leave very early to get to the ballpark early. Unfortunately, I would face bumper-to-bumper traffic for over half of the car trip. I think I ended up listening to the Marshall Mathers LP twice on the way up there. When I finally got there, I was skipping through the plaza past the Willie Mays statue. Then I saw the long line looking to get a bleacher seat, and I felt like this would be a wasted trip. But hope wasn't all lost. Long before the days of ticket reseller websites, there were these people called scalpers. They still exist, but these hustlers would be my ticket in. I would come in contact with the scalper who offered a lower box seat on the third baseline. I asked how much it was, and he replied with $100. I had a Benny Franklin in my wallet. I handed him the C-note and said, "Sold," as if I were the person Terrence Mann described at the end of Field of Dreams.
They'll pass over the money without even thinking about it. Greatest money they have, the peace they like.
I ended up paying a little over 4 times the face value of the ticket, but I didn't care. I was in. I took a lap around the new yard, getting to know every nook and cranny. McCovey Cove, the Coke bottle slide, the new dugout store, the fan lot. It was like entering a new world. The seats weren't all that bad either. The Giants still had the status of possible contender at the turn of the millennium. In 1999, they would come up short, finishing second to an upstart Diamondbacks team that were still a young franchise. They still had many players that were on the team that won the NL West in 1997. Jeff Kent, JT Snow, Rich Aurelia, Kirk Reeder, Sean Estes, and of course, the man whom this new yard was built for, Barry Bonds. The team still had Dusty Baker as their manager. The Giants would have some rough patches in their first year at Pac Bell Park. They would completely drop the first homestand in the ballpark's history. In fact, they wouldn't win a game there until April 29th against well, don't that beat all. On the 1st of May, they began to get hot, finishing the homestand winning 8 of 9 games. Then they went on another cold spell going into this game, winning 2 of 11. My first game at the new park would be the rubber game of that series against Les Expos. The 1994 players' strike not only wrecked the World Series dream of the Montreal Expos, but it would damage the team beyond repair. The strike financially crippled the Expos so hard they said, "Screw it, everything must go." Many pieces of that contending team in 1994 were traded off. Marquis Grissom, gone and won a World Series with Atlanta the following year. John Wetland, gone and won a World Series in the Bronx in 1996. Felipe Alou's son and Cliff Floyd, traded to the Marlins. They both won a World Series in the 90s as well. It wouldn't be the last time Alou would be sold in a team fire sale. Larry Walker walked away and joined his former Expo teammate Andres Galarraga in Colorado. Pedro Martinez would be the only pitcher in Expos history to win the Cy Young Award in 1997. A week later, he would be traded to Boston. In his career, he would, you guessed it, win the World Series. Twice. Aside from the 1996 season where the Expos finished 2 games out of a wild card spot, the team was an embarrassment. They would find themselves near or at the bottom of the NL East in almost every season. They did have a right fielder that I would see again on a different team 4 years later. 9-time All-Star, 2004 American League MVP, and 2018 Baseball Hall of Fame inductee, Vladimir Guerrero. Starting pitcher for Montreal, Tony Armas Jr. Armas spent most of his career with the franchise. That included 2 seasons in Washington. Forget calling Mitch Williams the Wild Thing. In 2002, Armas channeled his inner Ricky Vaughn with the league-leading 14 wild pitches thrown in that season. It was also one of his best seasons, finishing with a 12-12 record. In fact, 2002 was the best season the Expos had before they moved, finishing second with an 83-79 record. Too bad they were 19 games out of first to the Braves. Armas would spend a year with the Pirates in 2007 and played a few games with the Mets in 2008 before hanging it up. Starting pitcher for the Giants, Livan Hernandez. Hernandez played in the majors for 17 seasons, but his best years were in the late 90s and most of the 2000s. He turned many heads in 1997, performing so well in the postseason that he won the NLCS MVP and the World Series MVP honors. Like Rob Nen, Hernandez was another pitcher the Giants acquired in 1999 while the Marlins were stripping the team bare. 2000 was his best season, winning 17 games. In 2002, the year he got back to the World Series, he led the National League in losses. He would be a 2-time All-Star, but not in his 4 seasons with the Giants, but with the Expos/Nationals. After bouncing around the majors near the end of the 2000s and 2010s with another 2.5 seasons with the Nationals, Hernandez retired after the 2012 season. A quiet first 2 innings, Barry Bonds hit a double in the first, though it wouldn't be the last time he would contribute at the plate. Hernandez took care of the Expos in order in the top of the 3rd, which included 2 of the 9 strikeouts he had in 8 innings of work. With 1 out in the bottom of the 3rd, Hernandez would get on base with the base hit to right. Marvin Bernard would draw a walk. After Bill Miller lined out, Bonds would get in the box. In the previous game, Bonds hit a splash hit, a home run ball that would literally leave the ballpark and land in McCovey Cove for any nearby kayakers to chase after. Bonds would strike again with a blast to right field, and it would be good for 3 runs. The next 3 innings would be uneventful, as both Hernandez and Armas would be trading scoreless innings. Armas would get out of a jam in the bottom of the 6th after Doug Mirabelli grounded out with runners on 1st and 2nd. Hernandez continued to stymie the Montreal lineup in the 7th with a 3-up, 3-down inning. With 1 out in the bottom of the 7th, Armas walked Bernard, and with Bill Miller at the plate, Jim Poole would replace Armas on the hill. After Bernard stole 2nd, Miller would ground out and Bernard would move to 3rd. Next, Bonds would continue to do all the work, driving in Bernard with a single to right. The Giants would continue the rally. After a passed ball that moved Bonds to 2nd, Jeff Kent was given a free pass. With JT Snow up at the plate, Poole would dig himself deeper after a pickoff attempt went south. Both Kent and Bonds were in scoring position, but the threat would be neutralized after Poole got Snow to strike out. In the top of the 8th, the Expos would start trying. With 1 out after Wilton Guerrero grounded out to 2nd, Jeff Blum would get on base with a single up the middle. The next batter, Peter Bergeron, would get a double. Jose Vidro would fly out to left for the 2nd out. Blum tagged up and the Expos would get on the board. Rondell White would draw a walk. The tying run at the plate would be the dangerous Vladimir Guerrero. The rally died when Guerrero struck out on 3 pitches. Guillermo Mota would replace Poole in the bottom half of the 8th for Montreal and set the Giants down in order. On to the 9th inning, or in this case, the 9th inning, with Rob Nen coming on to finish the job. Nen got Lee Stevens and Andy Tracy to fly out. Despite giving up a 2-out single to Terry Jones, Nen most likely used his nasty slider to strike out Charlie O'Brien to end the game. This would be the last time I would see the Montreal Expos. Over the next 5 seasons, while the Giants would spend that time being postseason contenders, the Expos were going in the opposite direction. As mentioned earlier, with the exception of 2002, the Expos would be average at best, terrible at worst. In their final 7 seasons in Montreal, only one of those seasons they drew 1 million or more fans, which was in 2003, and the reason for that was the Expos played a quarter of their home schedule in Puerto Rico. Despite the stadium there being small compared to Stadio Olympique in capacity, interest was peaked in the U.S. territory. At this point, the Expos were owned by Jeffrey Loria. While he increased the payroll, his front office wasted that money on talent that didn't pan out in the 2000 season. In 2001, the Expos and the Minnesota Twins were on the chopping block to having their teams being contracted from the league. However, because the Twins still had a lease with the Metrodome, and Major League Baseball couldn't find another team to kill off, the Expos would live to play another year. After wrecking the Expos by not being able to get a new deal for a stadium, and by reducing English-speaking radio and television exposure, Loria would sell the team to Major League Baseball and used his newfound fortune to buy the Florida Marlins. Also, in the middle of the 2001 season, the Expos fired the best manager in their history, Felipe Alou. The Expos still weren't safe. The club would still be up for contraction after the 2002 season, thanks to the MLBPA signing a new collective bargaining agreement that would delay any kind of contraction until 2006. Then the talks went from contraction to possibly moving the team. Meanwhile, in the 2004 offseason, Vladimir Guerrero would sign with the Anaheim Angels. While this game would be the last time I would see the Expos, there was a moment that I would have seen them one last time. In May of the 2004 season, a game between the Giants and Expos in San Juan got rained out. The game would be made up in August when the Expos would come out to, what was it called then? SBC Park? Whatever. A selling point was that if anyone bought a ticket to the game on August 18th, it would be a 2-for-1 special. I was able to get a ticket, but I was having car problems during that week and I wasn't able to at least catch the train to the ballpark. So I ended up not going. The teams would split the doubleheader with the Expos winning the first game and the Giants winning the second game. On the same day as their last home game, Major League Baseball announced that the Expos would be moving to Washington, D.C. The team's final home game in their history would be a 9-1 loss to, oddly enough, the defending World Series champion Florida Marlins. I would see the team again in their current form in 2006. It was a 10-7 loss on July 31st. Not worth making a video about.
While this would be the last time I would see Le Rouge, Blanc et Bleu de la Expos, it sure would not be the last time I would visit this new home of my favorite baseball team, when I was there on May 25th, 2000.